Hello guys, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. In this video, I want to talk about how to download files and uploaded files. In the previous video, the video that I did, we talked about how do you upload files. Now, these files could be an image file, it could be execution file, that's the exe file. It could be any file at all that you want to upload, and it is possible in that video. So, when you upload this file to the server, how can you download it? That is what you're going to have a look today. Let's see. Now, this is what we did in the previous video. Now, as soon as I click on this, I can now choose a file here. Now, let's say I have a file that I want to choose, and let's say I've chosen the storage file. As soon as I click on, as you can see, I have a button here that is a download. Now, there is a real name, storage.jpg, and there is a name that it has given to the file. So that's a random name for file storage. Now, in case I click on this, I'm able to get the file. But first of all, let's see the information here into a database. So in a database, SQL Server object, and I right click, upload, view data. Let's see the file details here. So you can see we have the file name as storage, and that is the store file name. This is the content type. It is an image or JPG file. This is a content type. Okay, so this way, if I want to download it, is it possible? Yes, of course. Let's see. If I click on download, you can see I have the image of the file being downloaded here. Now I can open this over here. As you can see, it is a JPG file. So how do you go about this? That is what we're going to talk about today. Now, if you want to check how to upload files, you can check my previous video that has a title of upload multiple files. You can now get the source code. But I'll just glance through this, the uploading, then we move on to the downloading. So what is the first thing to do? Now, in terms of the uploading, we have to create a project, and this project is supposed to be a WebAssembly project. That's what we are using here. Now, with the WebAssembly project, we first have to add the input file method under the index.razor page. So under pages, because we have index.razor, and like you see, we have the input file element here. Now we have an attribute as multiple to add it. Now, when it's been added, when you select any file here, this event gets raised. Now, when it's raised, we call this method. This is an event name. So you can see we have the event name here, and now we loop through the list of the file that you have actually selected over here, and what again we send this to the API. So we send the image that the user has now downloaded or uploaded. We send them to the API over here. That's API/file. Okay, so when we go to the API, that is what we did here in the controller. With the API, we just received the list of the files being sent to this. We loop through the files, we add it to create a list or an object out of the module that we created already to hold the data for this. Then we set the various names over here, and at the end of the day, we have to set it to the folder that we have created. Now we pass it to the stream, then we create it. When we are done, we store the data into the database by updating. So as you can see from here, appdb context.uploads.add this object. So we upload each of the files that we loop through. After that, we save the changes here, and that is what is giving us this as soon as you download or choose a file here. Now, in this video, let's see how do you upload it first, or how do you download it first. Now we're talking about the upload. You can see in the previous video, we're able to upload the data into the database. No, that is a folder, but not a database. So in order to upload into a database, we have to first create a database first. So we have to install some packages. So let's go to Server Explorer, or that's a server project. Right click on dependencies, and now we need to add packages. So this NuGet packages, we need to add Entity Framework Core, and our Entity Framework EFCore.SqlServer and .tools. So these are the packages that we need to install over here. Okay, So you go to the browser. If you're not having them already, go to the browse and try to install Microsoft.NT Framework Core, Microsoft.NT Framework Core.SqlServer, and Microsoft.NT Framework Core.Tools. So these three packages, that's what you need to install them on your application to the server project. Now once you are done, you have to create a connection string because we want to save the picture data or the file data information into the database. So we have to create a connection. We do that in the server AppSetting.json file. So with the JSON file, we specify our connection strings over here, and the name of the connection is default connection. Our server is localhost, database name is uploaddb, and we pass in this trusted connection equal to true, and trust server certificate is equal to true. So we do this to create this connection. Now remember that you have to separate it with comma over here. Now with this default connection, we have to keep the name, this name. So once you're done, let's register this in a Program.cs file. So the same server project, Program.cs file. Now you can see we have it over here. So builder.services.addb_context. Then we pass in this app_db_context. Now there is a class that you're going to create. We pass in an option. Then with this option, we specify the use of SqlServer, the package that we downloaded. Then we get the connection string from the AppSetting.json. So remember that this is the name for the connection that we stated in the AppSetting.json. We pass it over here. Now once you are done, we have to create a connection that is a file for this app_db. So let's go to our server. Now this app_db connection server project, now create a folder and name it as app_db_context.cs. So there's going to be a class. Now when you add this class, you have to add it, right click on this data and click on add, then new class. The name is app_db_context. Now this class has to inherit from db_context, and now we have to specify the base class. So that's why we have it over here. We specify the app_db_context here to the base class. Then we have to specify our table name. So we specify the table name as upload, and now it's going to use a column of this upload results model. So we created this model in the previous video, but for the sake of this downloading, we have to update this model. So let's go to Solution Explorer. Now in our shared project, because we have upload results. In the previous video, we added only these two, file name and stored file name. Now you want to add an ID. Since we are storing into the database, we add ID, and also we add this content type. Okay, so once you have this model updated, the next thing that you have supposed to do here is to try to create our controller action method. So in the server project, you see we have a file controller here. With the file controller, we have to inject the context class. So we inject it, then we inject it, we set it over here. So as you can see from this dot app_db_context dot equal to app_db_context. So we create an object out of this, and then we set it over here. So this means once you're done with this, you can actually use this app_db_context to get the database, to add or to delete or to perform any other CRUD operation. Now the next one, so this is what we did for the upload. Now with the upload, once we look through them, we look through each and store the various names into the database table. Now the last part I have to do here is we have to add app_db_context.upload.add, then we pass in this object. So there is an object that is holding each of the file when it loops through it. Now we add it, then we have to save the database file here. So we save this by calling this await app_db_context.save changes. Okay, then we return this upload result over here. That's the list of the results that we add this each single object to. Alright, so the next thing is, how do you get the file? In case I click on download, now as you can see from here, there is an HTTP GET, and you're going to specify the parameter that's known as a file name. So we call an object that's a parameter here as a file name. Now take note that this file name and this must be the same. Now the name of this method is download file. Now we first check the file name that is coming in. We check to the database table, so that's the upload table. We check if we have any stored file name which is equal to this file name. So that's exactly what we are doing here. Now when we check, we set the path to, we combine that's the content truth dot upload. So this is the folder that we have the file in. Then we add this file name. So we are specifying the root here, and after that we create an object out of the memory stream. Then we create an object out of the file stream. Then we pass in the path of the file and the mode of what open. The first one, when uploaded, the mode is create, and here the mode is open since we want to get it. Now when it is open, we copy to the memory. So we copy memory to the stream. So we copy the memory, that is the object that we have, copy to the stream. Now we set the stream position to 0, and you have to return the memory and the content of the file and the path, the file name, and the path of the file as well. Okay, so this simple method here is going to get us the download link. Now once you are done with the get method, we have to go to our index.razor component under the client project. Now in there we have to specify some method over there. So the first one here that I want to do is we're going to add a button. So the button here, that's the button as you can see, and now we have an event here that's on click. So when it is clicked, we call this method. So first of all, this method contains another method. The method that it contains the get stored file name, and we pass in this method. Now when this method executes first, we pass the answer or the results to this method, that download file. So this download file has two methods. The first method, which is also found in another method, and the last parameter over here. So we set the class to btn primary for a bootstrap. Then the next thing to do here is we have to create this download file method. So in this, we did this in the previous video, and the next thing that we are doing here is, let's see, that is a download file. So we pass in two methods or two properties or two parameters. You know, this method is having two parameters, so we have to specify the parameters here. So that's the stored file name and original file name. Where did we get the stored file name from? Now if you check the method, this get stored file name. So you pass in this file. Now when you go to get stored file name, it's over here. Now to get stored file name, pass in the file name, and now we check if it is found. If it is found, we have to return the stored file name. So once we have that done, the next thing that we have to do here is we have to use an HTTP client and now get the data from the API by passing in this message or this parameter, stored file name. Now you check if the success status code it is not equal to 200, we say alert file not found. But in case it is 200, then we want to create an object out of the, you want to read the response that is coming in. So remember that we set this response, and now we are reading the response from as read as stream. Okay, now we create an object out of this .NET stream reference. We pass in this file stream, and now we call a method. So this is a JavaScript method that we need to call. We pass in an original file name that is coming in as a parameter, and this stream reference here as we specify from the object of .NET reference. Now where from this JavaScript object? Before we can actually use the js.invoke, we have to inject the IJS runtime. So in the page where you have the header, inject IJS runtime, and we create an object out of it as JS. So when you use JS here, we know what you are trying to mean. Alright, now since we have this, now we have to define this JavaScript function. So let's go to Solution Explorer. Now in the index.html, so that's the www root folder, index.html, we have to specify that JavaScript here. So this is the name of the JavaScript. So Windows or window dot, the name of the JavaScript, that is the download file from stream, is equal to async. We pass in this file name and this contains stream reference. Now here we set a constant buffer and a blob and URL. Okay. So the next one is we have to create an anchor element. That's in an A, stands for the anchor. And I will set the reference of the anchor element to the URL. Now this URL is creating an object out of the blob that is coming in. That's a file. Now when done, we set this to download. equal to the file name. So if I click on the file name, if I click on download, I must send the file name. If not, I must send empty. Then we initiate the click event. After that, remove it. Then we revoke the URL object. So this is the JavaScript that we need to actually add for it to work for us. Now, I believe you are done with this. So when you go to our index again, let's see, when you go to your index again, so index.razor, that's for pages. We have this, and now I did some slight changes here. Now I created a table, and now I call the TI, that's a table row, and here I have a table head. Now passing the file name, stored name, and action. Then in here, while it loops, we create a table row and a table data against each of the title or each of the headers specified. So that's why we are calling this method over here. So this is going to have a name, file name, we're going to have a stored name, and we're going to have the action. The action is a download, as you can see from here. All right. Now this the few changes that we need to do, or we need to add for our download option to work. Now we are done with this. I learned we've covered everything here. Now we are done with this. We can actually now run this application and see what is going on. So we can save this, and now when we run it, we're going to have exactly the same thing as specified here. So let's close this, and now let's run this again and see. So you close that, you wait for it to close, then we can now, okay, so now let's run this again and see what we have now. Now, since we have this, it's going to work because we have specified all the various types. But in terms of database, we haven't, because we haven't performed database migration. So the table or the database file has not yet been created. So let's create that. Click on Tools, and now click on NuGet Package Manager. Click on Package Console, and now this is what you're going to do first. You're going to type in add dash migration. So add migration. Then here, let's give it the name as initial. So add initial. When you are done, then you have to update the database. So pass in update database, and this is going to run some SQL query command to create a table for you. Okay, so let's say when you're done, meaning you are done, you can now run application. So click on the place to run it, and now let's try to upload the file here. So let's upload this. Now I have this syncfusion.blazor zip. Now as soon as I click on download, okay, so here it's going to give us the new file name. So let's see, here must change and get us the new file name, and that is this syncfusion blazor.zip. Okay, so once you have this, let's go to a database and see whether we have any file information for this. So in our database, I can now go to SqlServer object, and now let's refresh this, and I'll open the server to get the database table over here. And now let's refresh that and see the new changes that we have here. So let's see, let's try with another. This is a zip file, so let's see if we can actually have another one here. Let's choose a new file, and now let's choose this file as well. So this is a file, DB browser, and that's the MSI. So let's wait, that's the file name, and let's see what's going to happen here. Okay, so now if I click on, as soon as I click on this to choose the file, let's also check again, refresh this. Okay, so let's see if this is not working. Let's choose an image file here, so email. Now as you can see from here, we have this email file, and we have the name being issued here. So this is a PNG file. Now when you go to the database, let's see, let's try to check that and see, and you can see now we have the file as an email.png. We have a name and the content type as well. Okay, now let's try to download that and see. So you can click on this to download it. As soon as I click on that, you can see I have the download icon being displayed here, and I can click on this, and now you can see this file not found, because this here, because of this extension that zip, it's not yet sent to the database, so that's why I couldn't find it over there. But as soon as it's found there, you can see it is working for us. Let's try to see if hashing, and you can see we have this hashing, we have this name here. I can now click and to download the hashing as well. I believe this is clear. Yeah, I'll leave the code under the description. That's the GitHub link under this video description. So in case you want to grab the source code, it is possible as well, and it's going to be available. You can just do so. Thank you for watching this video. I believe this is clear. Hopefully, I'm going to catch you up in the next video.